Good afternoon, everybody. It is back. Football is back, and the Hayden Coker Show is finally back. Man, it has been a long time coming. This is the Hayden Coker Show presented to you by J&K Tire. They want to let you know that they are happy to support the Hayden Coker Show, and you can go to the J&K Tire in Steel, and for your next purchase, if you use the code Hayden James Coker, if you can use the code Hayden Coker Show, and you will get $10 off of your next purchase. And I'm not kidding, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, J&K, to reaching out and sponsoring us and helping us out as well. We appreciate that. And everybody out there, remember, go to J&K Tire for your next oil change. If you need tires, whatever you need, they'll get $10 off of anything. I want to go ahead and start breaking something down real quick because there's been a lot of speculation over this past week about none other than the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. All right, so Notre Dame absolutely obliterated Navy, 42-3, and they looked great. All right, I'll give them that. You had some wide receivers looking fantastic. You also had Sam Hartman looking fantastic. Running back and Conte looking absolutely fantastic. So there's a lot of hype around. Well, I say a lot of hype. There's been a good bit of talk around Notre Dame over this past weekend, and rightfully so. I mean, you went out and you beat the crap out of Navy. Then again, it is Navy, so not too much to brag about. But I mean, you go to a different country. You're playing in Ireland. Obviously, you're going to have a bunch of eyes on you, and you put the world on notice. You played a really good game. Your offense was fantastic. Your defense was amazing. So Notre Dame looked fantastic. Let's just go ahead and start it off with that. Notre Dame, you looked great. Kudos to you. All right. Now, you also had Jacksonville State got their first win as an FBS program this past weekend over the UTEP Miners. They won 17-14 off of a Jeremiah Harris pick in the final third. I believe it was minute and something. Anyways, it was a final minute and 7 seconds or so, and they went out and they balled out and they played. Zion Webb played pretty good. They had some pretty good runs. They had a pretty good ground game as well. So this Jacksonville State team really played well. This isn't something that Jacksonville State has been used to. Well, last year they played really well, but if you look at years past, they have not played too well. So 2 to 3 years ago, I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, what's going on? John Gross was there, and you didn't have the greatest few years. All right. Now you throw it back all the way to 15-16. You go all the way to the FCS championship game, and you lose to North Dakota State. North Dakota State, though, I don't know who in their right mind was going to be able to beat North Dakota State that year. You clearly had two of the best teams back in 2015, 2016 playing for the championship game. That was an awesome game. That was fun. But yeah, Jacksonville State, they got their first FBS. Well, they got their first win as an FBS program. There we go. That's how we say it. Now to some more opening headlines. Also have Florida State and LSU. We got them playing this weekend, guys. We are set, man. We are set. That's going to be a fun one. I have LSU personally, but Mason Smith not being able to play in that game because of some violations prior to the NIL era. So he's not going to be able to play, but I think the LSU still has enough to take that and to take it home with a W. And then you have Florida and Utah. This is going to be a fun one because, ladies and gentlemen, Utah is a very good team. All right. Now, last year you go to the Swamp and you lose by a few points, and you just get outplayed. All right. We'll just leave it at that. But you had Anthony Richardson, one of the best college quarterbacks to play last year. So you don't have that this year if you're Florida. You don't have that. So what are you going to do? Well, guess what? They bring in the transfer from Wisconsin, Graham Mertz. Now, people are saying this. Oh, well, what do you think about Graham Mertz? All right. Well, I don't hate it. All right. The kid did not have the development that he needed. He didn't get the development that he needed at Wisconsin because everybody thought this guy. Let me just remind you, a few years ago, everybody thought this guy was going to be a Heisman contender, and then he ended up not doing that. But he transferred out. Luke Fickell comes in. You go out and you get Tanner Mordecai for Wisconsin. We'll talk about all that later. But golly, my throat's a little bit dry. But you get some key pieces, and that's what you need. That is exactly what you need. And you bringing in Graham Mertz, I feel like that they are able to develop him. I feel like he's going to do good. But He has got to develop first, and I want him to show it to me firsthand in week 1, week 2, week 3, and then you roll into your tougher opponents. Week 3, you have Tennessee, but you have Tennessee at home. So that's going to be a fun one, and that's good for Florida because they get them at home. You get them in the swamp. Last year, you had to go to Neyland Stadium, and you almost knock off one of the better teams in college football last year. Now, it gets early in the season. Early in the season, there can be so many crazy things happen because teams are not up to par. You have teams who are just don't have their identity yet, like Alabama, for instance. I don't think Alabama these first 2-3 weeks of the season are going to be great, but I have Alabama winning the SEC West, and I just spoiled that for later in the show, so you don't have to watch anymore. But anyways, it's going to be so interesting, man. Then you also have Colorado versus TCU coming up in a few days, 5 days, and that's going to be a fun one. Deion Sanders, it's his first year coming in as the head coach for the Colorado Buffaloes. Sonny Dykes is going to be in his second year, so that's going to be fun. It's going to be curious. It's going to be interesting to see how Deion handles his first year because you look at what some former coaches have done in their first year. Look at what Josh Heupel did. You look at what Josh Heupel did in his second year. He turned everything around. And then you look at what Sonny Dykes did last year, and literally his first year. So I mean, it could be interesting, but I don't think that Colorado is necessarily gonna live up to what everybody is, or I say everybody, live up to what most people and some college football experts think that they're going to do. That's just me. Noah Moore says Colorado is going 7-5. Now that is a reach, my friend. That is a reach. It'll be fun to see how they do this year. I personally have Colorado winning 4 or 5 games, but it's 7-5. Maybe not. We'll see though. We have seen some strange things happen in college football, but that's why we love college football, man. Is because you never know what's going to happen. So that's always it's just always going to be interesting when it comes to college football because you never know what's going to happen. There can be 5-7. Sorry. Hey, I see you correcting yourself now. No, that would be more realistic in my opinion because Deion Sanders can be great. Now, Damian Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen, from Jocks 94.5, Colorado gets 6. Now, Noah, you got somebody on your side, kind of not necessarily right to 7, but at 6. I like it, Damian. And Damian, let me know if you're still in the chat. Do you think that Colorado can get a win this weekend when they play TCU? All right. Now, so that's going to wrap it up for our first segment, and I want to tell you about AIM Mobile Detail with Tyler Meads with AIM Mobile Detail. Are you wanting to reset your vehicle? Are you wanting to show some room condition? Well, Tyler Meads at AIM Mobile Detail, he's got you covered with professional grade ceramic coatings. He's also got paint enhancements, and he also has corrections and full interior and exterior details. If you would like to know more information, you can call him at 256-489-458-9949. That's call him at 256-458-9949 or message AIM Mobile Detail on Facebook. And it's going to be crazy this year, starting up football season. And I have a good buddy of mine over at Alabama Tractor. TCU is going to walk over. We'll see. I have a good friend of mine at Alabama Tractor. His name is Alex Farmer. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, if you need a lawnmower, if you need a tractor or an implement, then go see my friend Alex Farmer at Alabama Tractor in the South's best little city of Asheville, Alabama. And yes, you heard that right. Alabama Tractor specializes in Kubota brand machines and equipment along with other brand items as well. They also have huge parts and service depth to keep your machines running year in and year out. You can go see Alex and check out their large inventory and ask about their 0% financing. And you don't find that everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Alabama Tractor is located at 275 6th Avenue in Asheville, Alabama, or you can reach Alex at 205-594-7000. That's 205-594-7000. And you can check us out at Facebook at Alabama Tractor at Asheville, Alabama. And guys, I just want to go ahead and tell y'all I'm greatly appreciated for all my sponsors this year. It has been great to see. You can see them on the bottom ticker there at the bottom line. Damian says, yes, I picked them to beat TCU as soon as they hired Prime and crew started assembling themselves in Boulder. Okay, let's hear it, man. I like it, Damian. I like it. And Caleb Crocker says Deion is the next Jimbo. He can get all the 5 stars he wants, but he can't coach them. Now, that is something that I've been kind of thinking about over the past few weeks that I've been doing this. So I went over and over and over with myself. Is Colorado going to be what people are hyping them up to be? And I just can't. Or I say people like there's some folks out there who are hyping them up and saying, oh, they got Deion Sanders. Oh, they're going to go far. I don't necessarily think so. And I think that no disrespect to Deion Sanders at all, but I would like to see it on field at first. Now, he did great at Jackson State. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to knock him there. He did great at Jackson State. Now I want to see it even more on the field. I want to see Deion Sanders get this team in the college football world a little spiced. And speaking of spice, I want you to head over to Chick-fil-A in Pell City and try their new spicy biscuit. They've got it with a little spicy blend on their biscuit. Very good. It's freshly baked. You can head on over to Chick-fil-A in Pell City and get you one right up. They're so good, man. I've had them. Now I can't say I have spicy foods too much, but when I do, I like it just a little bit of kick so it doesn't burn my tongue too bad. I'm a little bit of a pansy, so it just happens like that sometimes. If he get 5 stars to Colorado, he's done his job. It's Colorado. That is fair enough. Now I will say that now Deion Sanders has done his job and he's been there for what 5-6 months. He's done his job already. Now he's done 2 or 3 years worth of work, and he hasn't been there that long. So, but Deion's going to do what Deion's going to do, and I'm excited for it. Now, I want to step into my next segment, and I'm going to go over college football playoff rankings. My college football playoff rankings are number 1, Georgia. The Georgia Bulldogs are going to be number 1 in the final AP poll, the final college football playoff poll. Number 2, you have the Michigan Wolverines. Now, here's the thing with Michigan. Is there an interesting topic, okay? You lose some talent, you also gain it back. Now, I was talking about this earlier in the year, and you have a 5-year senior coming back, and Roman Wilson. I want to see him do some things for this offense, okay, and this wide receiver core. I said it a little bit earlier in the year in one of my podcasts. Michigan never really has that top dog at wide receiver. Now, when it comes to running backs, baby, they got it. You have J.J. McCarthy at quarterback. And then you look at a few years ago, you had Hassan Haskins who came out of nowhere and shocked some people. And I would really like to know where he is now. I'm not necessarily sure. I'm not up to date on that. But then you have Blake Corum come in. You also have Donovan Edwards. There you go. I couldn't remember his last name for the life of me. But they have so much depth, I swear. And that's the thing with Michigan. They have a good offensive line. They can pound the rock. Their wide receivers aren't the worst in the world. They're actually pretty decent wide receivers, but they just never have that true number 1 wide receiver. And then their defense has been good, as in years past you can see you produced one of the best defensive players that I've seen in the last 5 years in Hayden Hutchinson. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what Michigan does this year. I'm not sure if they go undefeated this year or not. You have a couple key games in there where you could slip up. Now, one of them that I heard the other day that I really didn't think about until then was the Illinois fighting Illinois. That could be an interesting game. You go to Illinois very early, and come to find out, Jim Harbaugh is not going to be coaching. So he's not going to be coaching for the first 3-4 games of the season. So you go to Illinois, and that's your first true away game. So I think it's going to be interesting, but I think that Michigan is going to hold on. Now you go toward the end of the year, you have Ohio State, of course. I think that Michigan probably does go undefeated, but it's going to be fun to see, and it's going to be a great season for the Michigan Wolverines. And coming in at number 3 on my poll, I have the Clemson Tigers out of South Carolina. And yes, you heard that right. I know there's been a lot of speculation around Cade Klubnik this off season. Is he going to be what Clemson fans think? Now, a lot of it is he going to be able to perform or not perform? Is he going to be able to what's the word? Is he going to be able to? I'll just say it. What is he going to be able to be? What people think he is? Now he has been good in the past. He played a few good games last year. You look at how he played versus Tennessee, not the best in the world, but. That kind of stuff happens, and with Cade Klubnik, with him being a true freshman last year, and DJ Uiagalelei having a really, really disappointing year. I won't say bad. He was decent, but he's just a really disappointing year for what everybody wanted him to be. Damian Mitchell says Clemson ain't it. Yes, I do think Clemson will beat FSU. And Damian, I'm going to have to call you bluff on this one. I think that Clemson is going to be the best team in the SEC this year, or excuse me, ACC. and make that playoff spot as the number 3 team. And now, coming in at number 4, by the way, Clemson's defensive line has to get some work done, but I do think that their defense will step up and their front 7 will eventually be good coming into the season. But coming in at number 4, and this may not be something that everybody wants to hear. Damian, I know you picked Oregon earlier in the week. I heard it on Jux 94.5. But I think, and ladies and gentlemen, my last team in the college football playoff last year as just 4 teams. I don't even like FSU, but they're not better than FSU right now. Hey, we will see. Now, I will say this. FSU has a more solidified roster, but I'm telling you, man, I just think it's going to be something different about the Clemson Tigers this year. But now coming into my last spot for the final year for the 4 college football playoff teams next year, it's going to be 12, is the Washington Huskies. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I said it, this is going to be one of the best offenses in the freaking country. Caleb says if Travis can play healthy, then he's key. Absolutely. Washington's going to have one of the best offenses in the country, and I don't think it's going to be close. You're going to have I think Alabama's going to be up there, surprisingly. Without a quarterback right now, the offense is still going to be fantastic. Georgia's offense is going to be good. Maybe not as high-powered as people were thinking, but they're still going to be good. They really don't miss much. I don't think they're going to miss a step or miss a beat, but maybe not as high-powered as last year with Stetson Bennett and Brock Bowers. And you also have those key pieces. A.D. Mitchell transferred out into Texas, so you're missing some key. You miss him, but you also get some key pieces in. You have Rod Thomas coming back, Rod Thomas transferring in. Not Stetson Bennett, Ladd McConkey staying. So it's going to be interesting to see with Georgia this year. But anyways, Washington is going to be one of the better offenses in the country. Penix Jr. has to stay healthy. He does, and that was something that kind of roughed him up a few years ago at Indiana. He had that one fantastic year where they almost beat Ohio State. They got down late, or they got down early, then ended up coming back and almost beating Ohio State. And then he just couldn't stay healthy that year. And then I believe the next year he tore his ACL. And then now he's at Washington. And last year he played phenomenal. If he can do the same thing this year, like with what he did last year, but take it to a higher level, if he can just transform into that quarterback that I think that he's going to be, I have him winning the Heisman Trophy, and I don't want to put that. I don't want to put that lightly. I genuinely think that Michael Penix Jr. could win the Heisman Trophy this year, and that's my prediction for it too. So, but they have two of the top not running backs, 2 of the top wide receivers in college football right now. You have Odunze, and you also have. It'll be Oregon or Washington. Wouldn't be disappointed with either. Yeah, and Oregon's another team to look out for, man. I am going with Washington, but Oregon is another team to look out for. Bo Nix is going to have that team ready to roll come week 1 and 4 days and some odd hours. But it's going to be fun to see, man. I'm so excited for this football season. I've been so hyped up, and I just cannot express enough how much that it means to me, and a bunch of college football fans around the world, and hopefully to everybody watching. How much that college football is back, because I tell you what, I am happy about it. And it's nice that college football is back, but let me tell you something that's even nicer. AIM Mobile Detail with Tyler Meats. If you're wanting to reset your vehicle, show a little room, get a little paint job, maybe some ceramic coating, some paint enhancements and corrections, full interior and exterior exterior details. Excuse me. You can call him at 256-458-9949, 256-458-9949, or message AIM Mobile Detail on Facebook. And now, something that I've always been wondering about, so it's when it's the off season, and you have people chirping, oh man, I'm gonna predict this, I'm gonna predict that. One thing is for sure when it comes to predicting, and if you go down to Alabama Tractor in Asheville, Alabama. Hey, Damon. I think it's going to be okay, man. We can work through it. He's not liking that Clemson pick. But one thing is for sure is that Alex Farmer at Alabama Tractor in Asheville, Alabama, they can get you right. Now, remember, Asheville, Alabama, very, very small town. It's from where I am, and everybody, hopefully, a good bit of the majority of you here are listening from Asheville. If not, Man, move down here. Now, Damien, we're going to have to get you in Asheville soon. But they specialize in Kubota brand machines and equipment along with other brand items as well. They also have huge parts and a service depth to keep your machines up and running year in and year out. You can also check out the 0% financing. Now, that is great, and that's something that I know everybody wants to see. You can go down to Alex Farmer at Alabama Tractor, and check him out at 275 6th Avenue in Asheville, Alabama. You can reach Alex at 205-594-7000. That's 205-594-7000, or check them out at Alabama Tractor at Asheville, Alabama, at Alabama Tractor. You can trust their machines and equipment as well. Now, I want to go on to something a little bit more in depth. I'm going to give you, ladies and gentlemen, my SEC final season predictions in the West and in the East. Now, a fun one. I'm going to go ahead and start it right out. I'm going to start out with the East. I'm going to go with the bottom. I have Missouri, not Vanderbilt. I have Missouri finishing at a extremely low from what I kind of thought they would last year coming into the offseason, 5-7. And then I have Vanderbilt coming in at 6-6. I feel like Vanderbilt can do some key things. They had a good game. I say good. It was kind of underwhelming. I wasn't necessarily sure what to think from Vandy. I thought they were going to win by more than they did, maybe 17-20 against Hawaii this past weekend, but that ended up not happening. So I was a little bit disappointed. A.J. Swan is a good player. You have one of the best wide receivers in the SEC in Will Shepherd. Then you also have Jaden McGowan, who's fantastic. Played fantastic last night. But the one thing that I'm concerned about is Vanderbilt's defense. Last night, late in the game, they let Hawaii come back and make it interesting. And when Hawaii makes it interesting against you, it's just not cool. And I was disappointed. I will say that. But I have Vanderbilt coming in at number 6 in the East, going 6-6. And then coming in at number 5, I have the Florida Gators. Brian Phillips, let's talk about PC showing up Friday. I will a little bit later on in the show, Brian. But coming in at number 5 in the SEC East, I have the Florida Gators. Now, Florida has a very tough schedule this year, and I just don't see them scraping above 6 wins. So I have them sitting at that 6-6 mark. And then I have, coming in at number 4, the University of South Carolina. Now, a lot of people talking in the offseason about how South Carolina, they ended the last year fantastic. They couldn't have ended it better. Well, they could have beat Notre Dame, but Spencer Rattler was playing out of his mind the past 3-4 games of the season. He had a rough start at the Clemson game, but he ended up finishing that game off fantastic. So if he's able to roll that into this year and take some momentum and just throw the lights out like I think he's going to do, or like some people think he's going to do, then I think that this South Carolina team could be very, very good. But I have them sitting at 7-5 as of right now. And Caleb says South Carolina is going to shock some people and surprise them if Rattler can start hot. Now I've got to have some I've got to do some vocal exercises because my mouth is not working right now. But now, and I agree with him, but because Caleb has a really good point. Now, last year, like I said earlier, Spencer Rattler, he ended the year really well. Now, if he can do the same thing this year and start out this South Carolina team rolling hot, then things get interesting. You have a very tough challenge in week 3 against Georgia. So that is going to really tell me a lot about the South Carolina team. Now, if they get blown out, I can still see them having a decent year. But I don't know. And he says, that's who I have instead of Clemson. I'd be willing to argue with how too heavy the ACC is. An undefeated Clemson may still not get in over a one-loss Texas, in my opinion. Now, that is also a very good point. Now, Florida Sleeper in the East, says Brian. That's a very good point, Damien. Now Texas. Now, I think the important thing would be to say who that one loss is, whether it's Alabama or it's Texas Tech. Those are two different ball teams. So it's interesting to say that, but I would like to just point out that Clemson's going to undefeated this year and making the playoffs. And I'll leave it at that. But coming in at number 3 in the SEC East is none other than the Kentucky Wildcats, finishing at an 8-4 record, which is a pretty impressive record for Kentucky. Possibly even going 9-3. You have a game at home versus Alabama. That one's going to be a good one late in the year. And who knows? Kentucky might pull some magic, Damien. I know you're not going to like that one. But, You know what? We'll see. How about that? Now Tennessee coming in at number 2. I have Tennessee going 9-3, and I think that Joe Milton is going to have a fantastic year. A fantastic year. Now, is he going to end up in New York come December? We'll see. I think he probably does, but I haven't seen him play for sure. All we can hear is all I can do is speculate and assume. But I really do think that Joe Milton has the arm talent to be there if he can just keep his accuracy on lock. And then coming in number 1 in the East is Georgia. No surprise there. You have a couple of injuries at running back, a very bad dinged up running back room, or not bad, but dinged up. In an interview recently, I saw where Brock Bowers said that we're so dinged up at the running back position that heck, maybe even Brock Bowers can get up and go play running back. You'll have to talk to Brock about that one. But Georgia's going to be good this year. I think they finished the season undefeated. Damian says South Carolina over Kentucky. Kentucky getting too much hype. Still think South Carolina is the biggest wild card in the East. And that, honestly, I mean, you have a good point. Now you can say that, and that's what I'm saying. Everybody coming here, I respect your predictions, and I appreciate everybody giving me their intake. Now, starting off with the SEC West, and at number 7, I had the Mississippi State Bulldogs. You have a new head coach coming in. Rest in peace to Mike Leach. You have a new head coach coming in. It's sad to see what happened to Mike, but I'm just not too sure about Mississippi State this year. A brand new offense. Are they going to stay with the air raid? I don't really think so, and I think that's where Will Rogers kind of strives. And you lose your running back, Dylan Thomas, to none other than the Washington Huskies, my number 4 playoff team. So it is what it is. I think they're going to finish 5-7 this year. And now coming in at number 6, I have going a little bit north in the South. We're going to go with Arkansas. The Arkansas Razorbacks finishing at 7-5. And Caleb says Joe Milton's getting too much hype. Uncle Rico could throw a pigskin a mile, but he never won state. That's a fair point. But I have Arkansas coming in at number 6 with 7-5. Now I have coming in at number 5. I have Auburn winning 8-4. Damian, I know how you feel about this pick. Now, this is a team that could easily just win 7 games, maybe possibly even 6. But I think that they find a way to grind out 1 or 2 games later on in the year and possibly even make upset a team in College Station this year. But then coming in at number 4, I have Texas A&M as well, going with 8-4. So I feel like that those teams are pretty much going to be even when it comes to a record this year. Now, Texas A&M has a freaking roster. Let me tell you that. They have a roster on them. But I just don't think that Jimbo Fisher has the ability to develop players to develop players into that elite status anymore. Now he's got some good players. One of the guys I like to look out for, 2 of them actually, are Evan Stewart and Moose Muhammad, who are going to be fantastic this year. But I don't know. That's just me. I have them sitting at 8-4 for now. And then coming in at number 3, a little bit of a shocker to some people, I have Ole Miss going 9-3. Now that is the ceiling for Ole Miss. I don't see them winning. I do not see them winning any more than 9 games. This is a team that very well could go 8-4, 7-5. But like I said about Auburn as well, I think they find a way to grind out a game or 2 late in the season. And that game against Alabama is going to be a big one as well. But you play in Bryant-Denny Stadium this year and not on your home turf. So, and then coming in at number 2, a team that many people thought would win the SEC West, or many people have predicted to win the SEC West. And I know my good buddy Damian has. But I'm going with LSU coming in at number 2. I think Alabama is going to finish with an 11-1 record and a loss to Texas. But I think they win the SEC West and go on to the SEC championship game and play against Georgia and eventually lose that game for a New Year's 6 bid. But yeah, I have Alabama finishing at the top of the West. Unlike last year, I don't think LSU is going to go back-to-back in the West. So I've got Alabama. Now, there's a lot of speculation around Alabama. Guys, I get it, okay? Now, they don't necessarily have a quarterback named. That's fine and dandy. They have one of the best defensive lines in the country. They have one of the best offensive lines in the country. You have freshman Caden Proctor coming in for freaking Iowa. I thought he was going to commit to and stay with Iowa. I thought that Caden Proctor would be a Hawkeye right now, not with Alabama. He grew up in Iowa, was verbally committed to Iowa for a while, and then just kind of flipped the script at the last minute and chose Alabama. But you have some good freshmen on this team, man. And I don't want to go too far in depth with Alabama right now because I've got some stuff coming on later in the show and then next week as well. But Caleb Downs, look out for him, another big name freshman. And then you also have on the edge Dallas Turner. Dallas Turner, I talked to my good buddy Daniel Laughlin, who is watching right now. Last year, we were talking about Dallas Turner and how much of a monster that he was. And people calling him a dirty player for the things that happened with in the Texas game last year. And Quinn Ewers, him landing on Quinn Ewers. I don't think he's a dirty player. And also the thing with Jackson Dart, I don't think that's a dirty player. I think those are some moments that when you get caught up like that in a game, it can happen, and you're not necessarily thinking about it. But things happen, and that's fine and dandy. But oh well. Yeah. And by the way, I would just like to say this. I had a good bit of people comment on my Facebook earlier this morning and last night about some of my about putting their predictions out on the show, and I would just like to read them off to you because I feel like everybody here would like to know. First up, Austin Rich. His college football playoff is Ohio State, USC, Alabama, and Georgia, and he has none other than the Alabama Crimson Tide taking it all home, taking home the marbles. Now, I think that's an interesting one, but now Alabama winning all that seems to be a stretch to me, but it's college football and anything can happen, baby. Todd Dean said Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, and Clemson. I like it. I don't think Ohio State's going to be there, and I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up shortly because, my laptop's running dead. But Jason Cole says Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and USC. Arnold Gutierrez says Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and Alabama, and Florida State winning it all. That's a shout, and that's a new one. I haven't heard that one. And then Paxton Walker says Alabama, Michigan, Georgia, and Ohio State. 2 Big Ten teams, 2 SEC teams. I'm not seeing it happening, but he said that he has confidence because of Nick Saban's joy and laughter in his interviews. I'll take it. Connor Yonker says Notre Dame is going to win it all. You're wrong. Sam Hartman's good, but he's not. They're not winning it all. Then you have Nathan Fuller who says Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and Notre Dame. Bet the mortgage on it. We'll see. I don't think Florida State's there, though, just yet. And then Daniel Laughlin says Bama, Michigan, Clemson, and Georgia. Now, that's an interesting one because you have Bama and Georgia in it as well. Now, something that's very, very interesting is I have a backer. The same decision as I am, Clemson. And Damian, I know you probably need to turn off the computer because you're not high on Clemson. Turn off your phone, whatever you're on. But and then Garrett Sanders says, I'm going to be a little bit different here. Alabama at 1, Ohio State at 2, Florida State at 3, and Penn State coming in at number 4. Penn State's a new one. I will say it. That's something I'm unsure about. Now, I'm gonna say this one more time. I'm unsure about many things, but something I'm not unsure about, ladies and gentlemen, is Alex Farmer at Alabama Tractor. Now, Alex Farmer, great. He's a great salesman when it comes to selling tractors, lawnmowers, whatever you want. If you need a lawnmower, you can contact him at 256-489-9949. Or excuse me, I just read the completely wrong number. You can contact Alex Farmer at 205-594-7000. That's 205-594-7000. Whether you want some different parts, some implements, or a lawnmower, a tractor, heck, whatever you want. You can go down to 6th Avenue, 275 6th Avenue in Asheville, Alabama. And you can reach them on Facebook as well at Alabama Tractor, Asheville, Alabama, and Alabama Tractor. You can trust their machines and equipment to work as hard as you do. And as well, guys, after this, I'm going to go ahead and get cleaned up. And something else that you can get cleaned up is your car or vehicle, and that's Tyler Meads who can help out with that. Tyler Meads at AIM Mobile Detail. He's got you covered if you want some showroom condition. He's got you covered with some professional-grade ceramic coatings, some paint enhancements and corrections, and full interior and exterior detail. Now, you can call him at 256-458-9949 or message Tyler at AIM Mobile Detail on Facebook. And ladies and gentlemen, that's just all there is to it. You know, if you want to get clean, you want to get your car cleaned. I know I got to get my truck cleaned up very soon, so I'll be in contact with Tyler very soon. But you just got to have it. And there's a lot of things that can be said about this upcoming football season. And one way that I'd like to describe it is spicy. And something else that's spicy is a spicy Chick-fil-A biscuit at Chick-fil-A in Pell City. You can go on down there, get a spicy biscuit, got that warm dough on it, and you let it sit there for a minute in the wrapper. That dough just conforms to the biscuit, and it's just, man, it's great. It's great. And go on down, try it. If you don't like it, come back to me, and you can tell me, and I'll tell the manager. No, guys, this spicy biscuit is going to be good. I'm not the biggest on spicy, but you're gonna love the spicy biscuit. That is just about it for the Hayden Coker Show, wrapping it up for week 1. But with one more thing that I would like to say this week, and I would just like to remind you that Alabama plays Middle Tennessee State coming up this week in week 1. Auburn's got UMass, and then you also have my Heisman picks, baby. And I want to tell you that right now. I told you a little bit earlier, but I'm going to tell you just in case you missed it. Michael Penix Jr. out of the Washington Huskies is going to win the Heisman Trophy this year, baby. You heard it, Michael Penix Jr. There's some other players who can win it, but Michael Penix Jr. is my pick. You have Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Drake May. You've got Blake Corum, who could be another guy who could win it. You've also got Sam Hartman. Now, Sam Hartman is a guy who impressed in week 1. Can he do that over the rest of the year? We will see. But it's going to be an interesting football season, and I'm so happy to have y'all here with me. We got the Hayden Coker Show. We're going to be traveling a little bit this year. That may have been a little that may have been a little teaser, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. Thank you for tuning in to the Hayden Coker Show. Brought to you by J&K Tire. You can head on down to J&K Tire for your next purchase and get $10 off. Thank you, everybody, and I appreciate everybody watching, and I appreciate everybody commenting and everybody leaving predictions on my post. I hope everybody, I got you in. Noah Moore, you know I got you in, buddy. I love you, bud. Y'all have a good one, guys. Take care. This has been the Hayden Coker Show.